This evening, we have a very special guest in. We're doing Vietnam behind the scenes interview with Oscar, and I'm going to mess up your McCallick.
Right?
I got it, McCallick. I got it right the sixth time. I said it 5 times before.
Just put my little alfalfa down.
Still was questioning. Lenny, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing groovy, baby.
How are your Knicks?
They suck.
Oh, okay.
they're close to done.
They came in second place last night.
Yeah.
A distant,
two-team game.
A distant second.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
Blake, you alive back there?
Yes, I am indeed alive back here. I need to turn myself down a little bit to make myself less echoey, but yes, I am alive.
Echoey?
Live.
Echoey.
All right. You know what we got to do at the very beginning? We got to pay the bills. All right.
not?
It's time to pay the bills, and the group that pays the bills with us the most, and we're in their studio. This is Bozard Ford Studio. Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine. Their goal is to make sure your time and experience buying a car is stress-free, fun, and enjoyable. Bozard is a family-owned Ford dealership that has been in business since 1949. Almost as old as Oscar. Bozard Ford Lincoln has been a recipient of numerous dealer awards, including being ranked #1 automotive dealership in the nation by Dealer Rating. Bozard Ford also has won back-to-back President's Awards, which is the highest honor given to Ford Motor Company by Ford Motor Company. Check them out today online at bozardford.com. All right, who you got, Lenny?
Established in 2006, Stoller Stick is a local portable power company proudly committed to American manufacturing, constant innovation, and creating jobs right here in St. Augustine, Florida. Solar Stick's focus on providing solutions for self-sufficiency helps users all over the world complete missions and save lives. Solar Stick, changing lives, saving lives, and reviving American manufacturing. It's a trifecta.
All right. All right, these guys are the guys that keep me out of trouble. They are my CPAs. They should be yours too. Abear Kresge & Associates is a full-service local CPA firm with a team of skilled professionals dedicated to providing top-level service in the areas of tax compliance, planning for business, individuals, estates, and trust. They also do audits, reviews, and other accounting services. If you need a business valuation, forensic analysis, or litigation support, you need to give them a call at 904-460-0747. That's 904-46. I'm sorry. Try that again. Troy, take 2. That is 904-460-0747.
If you're a little hungry, experience the art of Italian dining at Saint, nestled in the heart of historic St. Augustine. From handmade pastas to rich risottos and indulgent tiramisu, every dish blends authentic Italian flavor with modern elegance. Sip to craft cocktails, savor seasonal ingredients, and enjoy breathtaking views from our second-floor balcony or rooftop patio, where you can take in the bayfront and even spot the lighthouse on a clear day. At Saint, every meal is a celebration. Join us and elevate your dining experience.
All right, we have other sponsors we got to give shout-outs to, and that's Meehan's, A.D. Davis Construction, Land Title of America, A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing, South State Bank, Anastasia Diner, Moultrie Creek Diner, Powell Heating and Air, Brightway Insurance, St. Augustine Pirate Museum, and Anastasia Construction and Consulting Group. All right, hand me those over. We're about to get into business.
And of course, we can't forget Kaiser's Deli and Market.
Kaiser's Deli. I am sorry, Kaiser.
It's okay.
Saw you down there and just skimmed right over because I haven't had my bollocks.
Right. You're a little peckish.
I haven't had my bollocks
a little
today.
peckish.
So, all right, we have Oscar in studio, and Oscar, we really appreciate you coming in this week. We've been friends for a long time. Let's go acquaintances. I don't want to hurt your reputation by claiming me as a friend.
No, well, over 20 years, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So, Oscar, and the reason we asked you to come in is your experience. It is Memorial Day week,
right?
And we asked you to come in and talk about a war that I think doesn't get its proper due, and that's the Vietnam War. And you actually, how did you end up joining? You were in the Army, correct?
I was in the Army.
You were in the Army. So how did you end up being in the Army?
Yeah, and I would like to preface by saying, since it's Memorial Day, I'm speaking for the guys that I was in combat with that didn't make it or did make it or are not here today, that couldn't stand up and talk about what they went through. And what I'm going to tell you is what my experience was in Vietnam, not what happened all over Vietnam, but personal things that you would probably never see in a movie, things that you wouldn't like to hear, things that were great, things that made me, I think, a better person, and made me understand people more. So there's a lot of good things coming out of the war, and there's a lot of bad things coming out of the war. And people who left the war came back and didn't get a welcome. And mentally, that put a toll on some of them. You know, whatever happened to them, they could be on the street sleeping or whatever. So it was a mental test and it was a physical test. And the reason I'm here today is because of those guys that I fought with in Vietnam. That's the only reason I'm here.
Yep.
Because we did what we had to do, and there were wrong things doing out in the field, and there were right things doing in the field. Because, you know, people generally, you know, they won't go by the rules. They were too tired or whatever, and they end up dead or they end up wounded. And I have to attest that my platoons and the people I was with, we had our stuff together.
You're allowed to say shit.
It's just like, can I say
you
that?
can say shit on
We had
our
our
show.
shit together, and it's just like a football team. Everybody in a football team has to do their job, and that's how you win. In Vietnam, you have a football team, a platoon, maybe 25, 30 guys, whatever, in your platoon. And it's like a football. If everybody does their job, you're not going to win, you're going to stay alive. And that was the premise of it.
All right. So, and where I want to take you is you're 20 years old. Now you got drafted. Do you remember your draft number?
No.
You don't remember your draft number. Where were you at when you said, okay, I'm gonna go in the Army? And
Well,
where were you at mentally? I mean, you're a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, I was at home, and for some reason I knew I was getting drafted. I remember watching TV and watching the grunts on the ground carrying M16s and stuff, and I said, I'll probably end up there. And what happened is I went south to Miami-Dade College, and I didn't go to classes at all. It was just, I knew.
Miami?
Because they sent me a letter, and they said, you can't go, your 4F is finished. So at this point in time, finish your semester and you're going to be drafted.
Yeah.
So I knew I was going to be drafted.
So you're like, screw this.
So I went to Florida and Miami, and I had, if sometime in your life you go, Jesus, I wish I had 1 year where I could just go crazy and have fun. And that was that year.
They gave you a heads up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because, I didn't know where I was going, if I was coming back or whatever, And I remember coming back, a lot of my friends said, we didn't think you were going to make it because a lot of guys didn't make it. So it was an experience.
Well, I know you. I know you're an excellent golfer. I mean, you're a guy who can shoot his own age.
Yeah,
which is
I shot under my age a few times.
Shot under your age a few times, which is super impressive.
Right,
and gets harder as you get older.
And I can shoot my age on 9. So, I mean, I'm 50. I'm about to be 58.
Oh,
so
a miniature golf.
Yeah. And no, miniature golf. I crush at my age.
Yeah.
But when you found out you were getting deployed, how long were you in the Army at that point? And what was the process when you were getting?
The schedule was I went to South Carolina and got processed, and that was an experience because I came out of Whitehall Street, New York City, and we were on a plane, and it was about 200, 300 guys or whatever, and we got to South Carolina, and I remember getting off the plane, and the Army sergeants would go, gentlemen, go over here, gentlemen, nice, and all that kind of stuff. So they put us in a room, and it was a round room like this, and they had crates. And all around the room was crates. And they said, gentlemen, if you have any knives, if you have any guns, if you have anything, put them in because you're going to take your clothes off. We were going to give you clothes, and you won't have them. Put them in the box. There were so many knives and guns, sort of shotguns, in that room.
Must have been with some Florida boys.
Right. Once they armed the whole group, right? They got us in formation. You son of a bitch! They would curse at you and everything, you know.
so
But
you
they
couldn't
were
shoot back.
afraid to do that.
With them having the knives.
Right.
Made sure they took the knives and guns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was an experience, you know. And then I went to Fort Gordon, and that was 8 weeks of basic. And then I went to Anniston, Alabama for advanced infantry training.
Okay.
And once you finish that, you're supposed to have a lieutenant tell you, where would you want to go to, Hawaii, Germany, or Vietnam? So they didn't do that. They just lined everybody up. Thousands of guys, you're all going to Vietnam.
Yeah, it's where you're going. It's not an option.
Right.
You're heading out.
Right.
So Lenny, you got
Where the need was. No, I wanted to ask Oscar about how much training he had before he got in country. And he just answered that because, it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Well, what it does, that training between Fort Gordon and Anastasia, Alabama, probably saved my life too, because what they did is everybody got their hair shaved, you all wore the same clothes. They took away your identity. You're not your name. You're a soldier, or you're going to be a soldier. So everybody looked the same, treated the same, whatever. So the whole idea, when you get into a combat zone, you're not Oscar. You're a soldier. You're a buddy to him. You're a buddy to him. You're there to protect him, and he's there to protect you. That's how you work as a team. And that was the thing about going into the service. You become a soldier. You're not into politics. You're not into any of this stuff.
Yeah,
you don't care about it.
You're there for
You're there for a focused reason. And that was true.
So the Band of Brothers. I mean,
Yeah.
I can feel that. Growing up in team sports, but I can't feel it. Having your back up against somebody else sleeping.
Oh yeah.
In a jungle somewhere. Describe the first night. You and one of your buddies is sleeping back to back in a hostile situation.
Well, I'll tell you, the first night I was in Cameron Bay, into country, and I was a heavy sleeper, right? And I was in a barracks, and I slept on the top bunk, and I slept good that night. In the morning, I'm waiting in chow line. And they were talking and said, "Do you believe what happened?" I said, "What happened?" They got bombed. We got bombed. And everybody ran out of the barracks into the bunkers. I was the only one sleeping on the top bunker. Slept through the whole bombing.
the entire bombing.
The entire bombing. And I said to myself, holy shit, how am I going to survive in Vietnam if I sleep through a bombing? So there was two things that scared me. That I was a deep sleeper and I snored. And when I first got into country, I said to one of the guys with me, I said, "Can you sleep next to me because I snore and just poke me if I, And I ended up, for some reason, not snoring through the whole tour.
Oh wow!
So that scared me.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the woods,
it's a legitimate fear.
I would think so. Sleeping
You're
through
in the woods
a
at
mortar
night.
attack. Yeah.
It's so quiet that for a long distance you can hear somebody drop a rock or something. But to hear somebody snoring, I could kill the whole platoon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you somehow
Right.
mentally your brain said,
So
"You're
I'm
not going to snore."
So I'm going. I'm into country. I don't know how am I going to, And the closest movie that I remember, that I went through was with Charlie Sheen in Platoon. Pretty much Oliver did a great job. He was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So he knew what was going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, everything they did, we had in the platoon, we had the lifer who was going to kill everyone. We had this guy with common sense. We had the Tom Berenger type. We had the William Dafoe type. And that happened with lieutenants and captains. Some of them were assholes and some of them were very good. And you weed out those. When I was in Vietnam for months, I learned that you have to weed out your group, your football team, your platoon. Because you, like one guy from California, we were in the jungle and he was smoking pot on guard at night.
Mm-hmm. So he's going to.
So you could smell that.
Yeah.
So the enemy could smell it and say, "Oh, there they are."
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we told them, "You do it again, we're going to kill you, and we're going to kill you with M16 because the enemy they steal M16s. So you're going to be dead." And we were all serious because we could not tell them, well, we're going to send you back to the rear. Because
that's what he wanted.
25% of the guys would be smoking pot. You know what I'm saying?
They were doing it on purpose.
Right,
and that's
exactly.
what they wanted.
So we had to be forceful, and you had to weed out the guys. The guys in the jungle, the grunts, were the smartest people I know. You don't want a dumbass who is going to guard, fall asleep, smoke pot while you're sleeping, and the enemy can kill you.
Yeah.
It's life 30.
Yeah.
You don't mess with your life.
All right. So you talked about the gentleman you said, poke me if you wake me up. Do you remember his name?
No.
Yeah. So
No. I have a little book, which I haven't looked into in years, but you have to remember, it's like, do you remember everybody on the team when you played high school baseball?
Only the guys that I wanted to remember.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much.
And that's what happens with Vietnam.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get close to them because I remember having food at one night and the next night, two of them weren't there. They were in the chopper going home, dead, whatever. So, and what you try to do is you try to be like a third person, like in Platoon. Charlie Sheen's talking about how he went through this as a third person. And I thought the same way, like going like an author of a book. Here's the character. The character's Oscar. So you try to take yourself away from that because if you get emotional, if you're in a firefight and somebody kills him and your arm is off, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Well, you say I'm scared.
Yeah,
you got to help them.
You got to keep fighting.
You're trained. That's why you're soldiers. You're trained to do it. You don't think about your personal being.
Yeah.
You're thinking about your buddy.
Yeah.
And he's thinking about you. And that's what makes it a unique. One of the things about having the good things about having a platoon and going out there, life and death, is there's no discrimination. There's nobody overlooking you saying, I've seen a black guy from Washington and a good old boy from Kentucky hooching together during the monsoons. They put pencils together and hooching together because we help each other. It was a pure sense of people knowing people and loving people.
And having each other's back.
Exactly.
And not letting society dictate
Right.
who you're supposed to be angry at, who you're not supposed to be angry
and
at.
if you're in the jungle and you got to walk 4 miles up of a mountain and somebody goes, oh, I'm too tired, I can't go, we're leaving you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you want us to call a cab?
Yeah. Uber.
Right?
Yeah. Get them an Uber.
So, but when they got to a fire base, we weeded them out. Go back to the rear. Go back to the rear. Because if you're weak and you want to do, if you're not into this, you're going to kill me. So why bother?
Yeah, because you're only as strong as your weakest link.
So a lot of guys came from Vietnam, and they won't talk about it because of their guilt. They were in the field. They didn't make it. They went back to the rear. They smoked pot. They did bad things, right? And they feel guilty about it. I have, which I brought, which is the medal that is above all medals. If you ever watch people in the service, this medal is the combat infantry badge. This is mine.
Yeah.
This medal is above all medals because you were in combat and the infantry, that means you were humping in the field while they were in the rear supporting you with food, clothes, artillery, helicopters, jets, all that. That supported this guy.
Yeah.
And that was important.
Yeah.
So if you ever see a uniform and you see this on top,
That's on top.
that's probably the best badge you'll have.
Yeah. No, and thank you for that. So you were kind of at the point of the spear during Vietnam. Not kind of. You were at the point of the spear at Vietnam. Was there any mission where you just went, oh, man, I got a really shitty feeling about this?
Many.
So I mean, you pick out one that just makes one really kind of stand out.
You know, I remember one time we were going on a mission and they go, "Are we going to come back? Or we're going to what?" And guys, it was so bad that guys would take their wallets out and they would give the picture of their wife and they would write the address on her phone number. So if I don't make it, so they would exchange this before the mission.
Okay.
That's how dire it was, you know. So, yeah, so we had that. And there were many good missions, and the Army had many bad missions. And bad missions killed people. Good missions came out okay.
Yeah.
And that happened. This happens all the time.
All right. One of the things that you see a lot, and the pushback of Vietnam. Obviously, it was a conflict between. It was a political conflict between communism and democracy. But when you were there, did you have a sense of your group knew what you were fighting for, or was it just like all about survival?
First of all, when you go to Vietnam, they don't tell you, even in basic training, they don't tell you go in there to win the war. Mm-hmm. The first thing they give you is a short timer's calendar. Oh. You're there for 12 months. So you mark off X each day. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing is you see a guy on the base, what do you got? I got 150. What do you got? I got 75. That's how many days they got
75
left.
in a wake up?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that was the thing. So they never told you that you were going to win the war. Mm-hmm. And when you were going there and you had a captain or lieutenant that had that in their mind, that we were there and that we're going home, you're going to go home. If you have this gun-ho captain, whatever, mm-hmm. and he's pushing you into combat all the time, you know, you're going to have casualties. Mm-hmm. I remember being on a mission, and I remember the lieutenant is Lieutenant White. I was his RTO, radio transmitter operator. Mm-hmm. And we were on a ridge line, and we looked at this village, and we saw black pajamas running into the village. So we knew that was Charlie.
Yeah.
So we were on a search and destroy mission.
Okay.
So the lieutenant looks at me and he goes, "We're on a know and avoid mission." Mm-hmm. And we went right around the village. We didn't even go to the village. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the idea, the lieutenant, he said, my job is to keep you guys alive. Yeah. You know, we can kill 10,000. What makes a difference? We're going home.
Yeah.
So that was the attitude. And baby killers and all that kind of stuff, yes, it did happen. And you did have assholes that did that.
They burnt down villages.
But the guys I was with, I was so proud of. I remember we captured 2 Charlies. They were in a hole in the ground, like a little whatever. They came out, they were cut, there were flies on them. They had 1 gun with 3 bullets. Mm-hmm. Right, big enemy. Our a medic came over, patched them up, we gave them food, put them on a chopper and sent them back. Mm. And you know what happens to them? They have 2 choices. They would go into a compound where they keep the prisoners, or they become Kit Carson scouts. Mm. Yeah. A Kit Carson scout would make $85 a day, have a uniform. He doesn't make $85 in a year.
Yeah.
He's $85 a month.
So which way is he going to go? Yeah.
Right. And he would train with the troops, and he would go out. Mm-hmm. And the only thing these guys were good at is if we were going in the jungle and we were going to go up a ridgeline or something like that, and he would go, "Me no want to go." So you know somebody was there.
You know it's a bad idea. Right. It's a bad idea.
Not he said.
So they
it's like Little Big Man. Why don't you go down that hill?
Yeah. But the thing about in Vietnam is that you didn't know who was the enemy and who was the friendly.
Yeah.
I was chosen, which was an honor, to go on a recon mission. 3 of us. I had the radio and 2 sergeants. And we were going to find out because around the fire base there were all the villages, and at night they would come out and set up mortars and attack the fire base. So we would go out alone and do recon. And I remember we were outside this village, and I remember 3 of us were in the bushes because we had no backup.
Yeah.
If they catch us, we'll finish.
Yeah, you're done.
And I remember we're there, and about 10, 12 feet from us is the trail, and they started walking on the trail at night, carrying mortars and stuff. And I don't know how many. We just took a glance, right?
Yeah.
And I've never so scared in my life. My heart was beating so loud, I could hear my heartbeat. I was afraid they could hear it.
They could hear it. Yeah.
That's how scared you get. So, and we were cool. Finished. Then we went back and did our report and stuff like that. I also went on a sniper sergeant and RTO, and I was chosen. That's good because you were good in the field and they trusted you. You know, and I went out with the sniper, and he would do his thing. We would come, and if we get caught, that's it. You got no backup.
Yeah.
So the only communication you had at night is they would ask you, "Is everything okay?" And you go, "Shh, shh." 2 for good or 1 for no good or something.
Yeah. And that was you had the headset on, so you were the only one that could hear it, or
well, you put it like this.
Yeah,
you could hear it. So as I was a point man, assistant machine gunner, a machine gunner, and I ended up being an RTO.
Right.
I had all those things.
And you talked earlier about being dropped into the zone.
Yeah.
Were you taken in by helicopter and just basically told get off and fight? Is that kind of the way it went, or was it?
Well, what happens is they scout out an LZ so that they could land. And it's usually an LZ where there's not action.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get shut down.
Yeah.
So then you got to travel from there. But in some cases, you have good helicopter guys and bad guys. They would come to the ground where, you're 3 feet off the ground and you just hop off because you have 110 pounds on your back and a weapon.
Yeah.
And, if the helicopter is high as the ceiling and you have to jump, guys are breaking their legs and stuff.
Yeah, especially with 100,
an
extra 100 pounds
right.
on you.
And you hate that helicopter pilot because he was so scared because it was a hot LZ and he would take off, And there were guys that came in, the great guys, would deliver K rations and stuff for us or pick up wounded and dead. Those were probably the most heroes because they went in under fire and everything like that. So there were good guys and there were bad guys.
Yeah.
There were guys that wouldn't come close and they would drop the C rations, it would hit the trees and it would spread it all over the place.
Yeah.
Because it was too chicken to come in.
Yeah.
So you had the good and the bad,
Well, and you said that there was a countdown and you just X'd off the days, but you actually served. You signed back up again.
Yes.
Okay, so you did 2?
Here's the deal. They said if you extend 2 months more, then I don't have to go back into the world and serve the next 6 months.
Okay.
Now what happened to me, I was under congressional investigation.
Okay.
And I was called whatever you want to call it. What happened was, when I was in Vietnam, I wrote some of the bad things that happened to my mother.
Okay.
They published it in the local newspaper.
Oh.
Senator Godell at the time, he was a Dove in New York, he brought it to Congress. So Congress had certain people they wanted to talk to. So when I was on a mission out in the field, they hired a lieutenant to go out and get me, bring me back into brigade. So I told them what happened. I didn't say this is a policy of the Army or whatever. I just want to, my experience. This is what happened. Wrong things happen. Right things happened. So that's what happened. Nothing happened to me, but my poor platoon and my poor company, every time we came into a fire base, they closed the PX down. So we couldn't go to the PX. To give you an idea, Falstaff beer, 24 cans, was 10 cents a piece, $2.40. What they would do is sell it to Mama San. And Mama San would be on the side of the road with a ice brick, rubbing the beer to get it cold for $1.
Oh.
Now, the only money we had was MPC. MPC is military payment certificates. And if you get caught buying from Mama San, you can get court-martialed. Well, what kind of setup is that?
Yeah.
They
So
sell
they
us-
basically they were setting you up to fail.
They
and,
were
and-
selling-
and that's what you wrote back to your mom, and that's what got you in trouble.
Exactly. They were selling clothes.
You were writing about beer and
Right.
their little scams,
Right.
and that's what got you in trouble with.
We would go to a fire base, and we couldn't take a hot shower because it said no grunts. It was a sign, no grunts. We would go, what they call a shit is a ammo box, and they put a lock on the top of it so we couldn't go to the bathroom. And why?
Yeah.
In the morning, we'd be on a fire base, and a colonel would come, and it would be a chow line to get hot meal for breakfast, and he would throw out our guys. You know how he did that? Because we had the dirty swamp clothes, and they had the clean clothes. So he just threw all of us out of line. So our lieutenant would complain, the captain would complain, and you had these bad things going on in Vietnam. Our own support group.
Yeah. The guys that are supposed to have your back, you're the ones doing the grunt,
The heavy lifting.
the grunt work.
Exactly.
And instead of saying you go to the front of the line,
Oh yeah,
they're saying get out of the line.
We're the ones that came in to build the bunkers around the fire base.
Wow.
You're the one protecting them.
All right.
They're our support.
Yeah, and okay, so this is one, and I didn't know about this, and I watched a documentary not too long ago about, is it fragging, where like if you got a hot, like a lieutenant or a captain who's just wanted to get in, got in there very gung ho and would get the guys killed, where they're just like, all right, we're just going to take you out. Like
Right.
his own
Right.
guys would take him out,
Right.
and they would actually say, hey, you either chill out or you're going to be taken out. And did you see any of that? It sounds like your group was a little bit different, but did you see any of that with some of the other groups?
You try to get rid of those guys.
Yeah.
And even though I was, I never got promoted sergeant because every time I went to a fire base, they closed down the 5 board.
Yeah.
Just because I told
You told your mom.
what was going on, So what you try to do is, and I had lieutenants where I was RTOs for, where they would screw up, and I don't care what the rank was. I had one guy from West Point, and what they did was wrong, and my job was to help protect the rest of the platoon.
Yeah.
So I told them, no, we're not doing that or whatever. Oh, I'm going to court-martial when you get back, right? We sit down with the captain, and they got rid of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got rid of him.
Yeah.
And I had one lieutenant that we were getting fired upon, and I was his RTO. He threw his weapon on the ground and hugged a tree. He was laying on the ground hugging a tree while we were being fired upon. So I had to call an artillery.
Yeah.
Because so when we got back to the rear, no, you're gone.
Yeah.
Right.
So it happened so many times that the captain of the company, he says, Oscar, you're my RTO now. so I ended up being an RTO for him.
Okay. All right. So you talked about calling in artillery and stuff like that, and you always see on the movies, we'll call it in on this location, and they go back and forth. When you called it in, was there any time where you called it in and went, "Oh, I hope they don't miss by 100 feet or whatever it is"? What was the closest you had to call in? Because it sounds like you were the guy who had to make that call.
I would say like 3 football fields, something like that.
Okay. So we're talking.
Yeah, or where you had
definitely
something
envision-
protecting you, or whatever. because napalm was the best because if it gets on your skin, it just burns right through. So what we were supposed to do, and what we did is we went through after they bombed to see what happened, the casualties and stuff. And that's probably how I got Agent Orange in Vietnam, And we cleaned it up or whatever. We did all the dirty work. All the dirty work.
You were a grunt.
Yeah. Grunts, that was it. That's why when you see two guys from Vietnam and one, they're both MOS's 11 Bravo, they call each other brother because they know exactly what you went through, I went through, and whatever. So it was that kind of thing. So it was an experience that you really learn about people, what they can do and what they can't do. You have people that are trained in the Army and they go into a combat and they freeze. I had one guy actually see him go crazy, went nuts. He was, I remember from Washington, D.C., we were walking along a riverbed, and he was in front of me, and there was a guy in front of him, and we were walking like 15 feet apart or so. And all of a sudden, we got fired upon, and the guy in the front got hit, went down. He carried a weapon that we called a thump. It was a grenade launcher. We had M16s, and some guys carried grenade launchers. He ran up there. He shot, because I was watching this. He shot the grenade launcher into the enemy's chest, and it bounced off because it has to go a certain distance.
Yeah, there's a safety
explode.
factor. Yeah.
And then he went into the stream, picked up the M16, pulled it out, cleaned it out, and killed the enemy. So when we went back, so he was like a hero. About 3 or 4 days later, we're on a mission, and we have a night perimeter and all that stuff. And usually you set up your stuff, and in front of it is a weapon, or if you're a machine gun or whatever, and then you do your trip flares, and you do claymore mines and everything, set it up. So after we're all finished, I go back to where I set everything up, and he's sitting there. And I said, okay, I forget his name, but, I'm back. So he says, no, this is my stuff. I said, what? He said, I'm Oscar. I says, really? He said, I'm Oscar. I says, no, you're not. I'm Oscar. He said, I'm Oscar. He snapped. He went to the point where he pulled a 45 on one of our guys and put it to his head. We talked him out of it. Well, we didn't have handcuffs, but we put him in the back of our platoon, and a guy watched him. He had no weapons or whatever. And we put him on a chopper and sent him back. We heard he was in the hospital, and he scratched himself so much he was bleeding all over his body. He had this, and then they sent him to Japan. They usually send you to Japan if you have mental disorders or whatever.
Yeah.
But he also went crazy. He snapped. And you have guys that watch that, and they go, shit, I don't want to be in the field.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy.
This is the worst that can happen to you in Vietnam, is to be sent to the field. So when I was in the field and they asked me about what happened, they sent me back in the field. But I got an ovation coming off the helicopter because most guys chicken out because they tell them, listen, it really wasn't that bad. It's not a policy. These things went wrong. How would you like to get out of the field and we give you a job in the back, in the rear? I said, no, send me back to my group.
Yeah.
And clapped and everything like that.
Yeah, your guys are like, thanks for coming back, Oscar.
Set up for him.
Yeah.
So, Oscar, we've all heard stories about the reception Vietnam veterans received in the early 70s when you came home.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole perception has changed now. People understand the conflict differently. They understand the sacrifices and the service dramatically differently now in retrospect.
Oh, yeah.
But how was it when you came home the first time in 1970?
When I came home, I told you I extended. So my last day in the Army was my last day in the Army, my last day in Vietnam. And I flew into Fort Lewis, Washington, Fort Lewis, and we were at the airport. Me and my friend, we extended together. We went in together. We came out together, and we went to the airport. We had our uniforms on, and let's go to. We're waiting for the airplane. Let's go to the bar, have a beer, and we're both out of the Army. We have, they said you finish,
Still in uniform though?
but we're still in uniform.
Okay.
And the bartender said, I want no trouble from you guys. I want you to sit over there in the corner, and I'll give you 2 Cokes free. But I don't want you sitting at the bar. I said, holy shit. So we were so embarrassed. We got on the plane, right? And before we got on the plane, I think we went in the bathroom and we changed into regular clothes because we were embarrassed. And then when I got home, I remember seeing my best friend, and we went to a bar and we sat down and I ordered a draft, and I maybe drank two sips of it. I'm talking to him. Bartender says, "You drunk? Get out of here. I'm calling the police." So wherever I went, it was, went to the old place where they had
welcome.
music and stuff. Girls would come up and spit in my face. So that was it. I went home and I watched my hair grow for 4 months. I couldn't talk about Vietnam to my father. He actually called me a liar. So I said, forget about it. I couldn't talk to anyone. Nobody wanted to hear it.
Right. And they didn't have the shared experiences that your fellow soldiers had at the
Nothing.
time to understand it.
And they didn't have any PSD at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
They let us loose in the street.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys were all screwed up.
Yeah.
You're a soldier and you got to transition into regular life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a big thing for guys who went through combat, or guys who have this guilty about screwing up, and they're back home and nobody's talking to them, and nobody wants to talk. They won't hire you either. If you go for a job, they won't even hire you.
Yeah.
And I always resented this thing about this image of a Vietnam veteran being an overweight guy on a motorcycle with a gray ponytail. No offense, though. But
He doesn't have his ponytail right now.
Yes, exactly. Thank
Right
you.
now.
right, because there were hundreds of thousands of guys who are in Wall Street or teaching college or doing something.
Yeah.
But the media always put that as a Vietnam veteran, like the wild one or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So and they still put it out there like that. So one of the things you went in some areas that we don't talk about. You weren't really supposed to be there, but you were there. Did you know at the time, like when Cambodia came up, it was supposed to be very secretive in that. How did they convey that to the troops on the ground? Like, hey, you're going in,
Yeah.
but don't talk about it.
No, who are you going to talk to? You're in a platoon.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're going, right? I remember sitting on the pad waiting to take off with my lieutenant, because I was his RTO. And we're sitting there, and the door gunner, because I have M60s on the door gunner, is smoking a joint. I said, holy shit, you're smoking a joint? We're going into Cambodia. He goes, that's nothing. The pilot's on speed.
Well, he ain't going to fall asleep on you.
So I looked at the lieutenant, I go, holy, we're going to make it there. No.
Yeah.
So we got there, got dropped, and we went to villages, and there was buku, as they say, rice and food. And so we burned that up or got rid of that, stuff like that. And they were maybe there for a week or so, I don't know. And then we came back.
Okay.
Because the Kantu Mountains, we had to go through streams, climb mountains, go to jungle, do all that stuff. So,
All right. And they talk about like the distances like you guys had to travel. What is like the longest, like, I've done hikes, but it's not with 110 pounds
Right.
on my back.
Right.
I mean, that's extreme. Like if you got 50 pounds on your back, it's a significant weight. You're
Yeah.
talking 110. You're basically carrying yourself all day long.
Well,
What's the longest you remember hoofing it?
usually you took, when you went on a mission, it was basically 4 days before you got resupplied. Mm-hmm. So you took food for 4 days. You took, had minimum 10 quarts of water. You had to carry, your ammo. Everyone in the platoon carried 50 rounds for the machine gunner. We carried a D handle. We carried, they call it, I think it was a M50 Law or something, which was, you stretch it out, it was like a bazooka.
Yeah.
And carried that. Carried C4 all the time. I used to cook with C4. You cut a little bit off, and you put it up, and you light it, and it's boom, and it makes that water hot in seconds, And you Claymore mines carried, so you had to carry all this stuff. It's like, some of the stuff they put on a pile, and you say, all right, you take this, and it's extra stuff.
Yeah.
And then you had to go, I would say, if we had on a long mission, we went 4 to 5 clicks a day for 4 days. So that would be 20 clicks in 4 days or whatever. It depends on the terrain. Mm-hmm. We were one time, had to go climb up a cliff about 800 meters.
Okay.
And we got up halfway.
800 meters, not feet, meters.
Meters.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And we were up halfway, and got dark, so we couldn't move further. Mm-hmm. So what I had to do is take the strap from my gun and tie it around my shirt and wrap it around a tree, because if I was sleeping, I would
You could fall off the mountain. Yeah.
So we all had to tie ourselves to the mountain and sleep, and then in the morning continue.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
A lot of guys go, I can't do this.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they would go, and I remember talking to somebody the other night, and they said, tell them about the bugs and snakes and everything. Yeah, I mean, I told her, and I'll tell you, we had a mission one time we were assaulting to, like, the woods, and it was about 30, 40 feet away. Like every 10, 15 feet was a guy, we were assaulting. But I looked, and this guy knocked over this thing about 3 feet on the side of a tree, and it was a bee's nest. Mm. Oh. And these bees came out, and you could see them shoot out in the air. I go, holy shit. And they came out, right? And they were like this big. Mm-hmm. And they came out, and they attacked everybody that was around it. And I saw one guy had his rucksack on, and what you do is you wear a towel, for safety on your shoulders. And he took the rucksack on the ground, and the bees attacked him. And what he wanted to do is take his towel and wrap it around his face to protect his face. Uh-huh. And when he did that, there were bees all on the
inside.
Towel.
Oh.
And we made it back to him. You couldn't recognize him.
Oh, wow.
He had so much poison in his face and his system. So they had to call off the mission. Yeah. Even the enemy ran. Yeah. Oh. If they were there, I didn't see them.
But you're pretty sure.
Yeah.
They weren't sticking around. Right?
They didn't attack with the bees.
What happened to the mission?
Like, no.
We got attacked by bees.
The bees got those guys.
Yeah. So guys, one after another thing happened. A lot of guys didn't mind, humping and fighting. They just couldn't take the jungle and the insects and.
Well, and this is my question, because you're a New York kid. All right, I grew up in Florida, and there's a lot of swamps and stuff like that. A New York kid getting thrown into the jungle, a wet environment.
Right.
What was that like? Like, because you had New York. I'm sure you had New York guys. You had guys from South Carolina, like
all
you said,
California,
all over the place,
Chicago,
and stuff like that.
all over.
So, like, when you got somebody who was a city kid, did it have anything to do with because I could see it not being a factor, the fear factor. I could see a country boy being just as scared as a city kid. Was there some instant judgment, like when you saw somebody coming into the platoon, like, oh gosh, this guy's from Chicago? You know, was there any of that, or you gave them the benefit of the doubt, and they had to earn their chops?
They would have to earn their chops. They would have to, like, simple things. You would tell a new guy coming in that, when we're breaking through the brush, you have your gun on safety. Well, the new guys, you got to watch them because they figure we're getting attacked every second, so they had it on rock and roll or whatever.
Yeah.
Because when you're going through the brush, right, a twig could hit that trigger, and you could shoot the guy in front of you.
Yeah.
What good is that?
Yeah.
So there's certain things that you have these guys do. For instance, in the movies, you see a patrol coming, but you see all of them because of the camera shot. You don't do that.
You didn't know where they were coming from.
Because you have to be, let's say, 9 to 15 feet apart. Because if the enemy sees you breaking brush through the jungle, right? He doesn't know if you're 10 guys, 15 guys, or 50 guys. He's not going to mess with you.
Yeah.
But if he sees 15 guys that envision together, he could shoot a rocket in your ass.
He's like, okay, I got all 15 on this one shot.
And guys, that's what happened. They let down their guard. They were all, there's nobody here, or whatever. And I remember one guy's ass got shut off, because they were all clustered together. So what you do is you do this every day to save your life.
Yeah.
When you're tired and exhausted and you reach the top of the mountain or whatever and you put up a perimeter, you have to go, first of all, you have to send out OP, observation post. So 2 guys go out or 1 guy goes out and he goes out 50 yards in front of everybody in case somebody's coming. So if somebody's coming, he's getting it.
Yeah.
And you do that at night. 2 guys go out at night. Even during the monsoons when it's pouring rain. You go out 50, 75 yards, and both of you are sitting there so you could monitor anything coming. And it's pouring rain, and you sleep 2 hours, he sleeps 2 hours. You go on and off, hit each other till sunrise. And you do that every day. Every day. And you're soaking wet. And you're soaking wet 24 hours a day. That a lot of guys, what happens is you go through the jungle and you scratch yourself. Whatever. And you don't heal because you're wet.
Yeah.
Right.
So you get jungle rot.
Yeah.
So everybody gets jungle rot. What degrees, the worst degree is when it gets to the bone and then you can't walk and stuff like that. And then the weather's so bad that you get to a point where you're so used to it. It's just pouring rain.
It's part of life.
Pouring rain.
Just part of life.
The best.
In Forrest Gump, they talked about sometimes it rains straight down, sometimes it rains sideways.
The favorite saying of a grunt in Vietnam was, "It don't mean nothing. It's another day in the Nam."
Yeah, another day.
That meant, whatever you throw at me, it doesn't mean it's another day.
Yeah.
I cross off the counter.
Yeah.
So you had guys that had that attitude that you were proud to be with them.
Right.
That was a great
All right.
thing.
I have an online question, and it's about the tunnel rats. Did you experience any of those in any of the locations where they would be in the tunnels and pop up?
We would go into the side of a mountain, and they would have these caves would go in, and you would, and we send the smallest guy in or whatever, and
that would have been me and you. That would have been me and you.
Wow.
And we would go in, and they would have a whole cave there, stuff like that. And I remember one time we went in and we found a Russian flag, a big, like 10 feet long.
Yeah.
And I remember they took a picture of everybody around the Russian flag and stuff like that. But yeah, he went in there. We captured 2 guys. They were in the tunnel. And like I said, we fixed them up, set them on a chopper home. Hopefully they became Kit Carson's Scout or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they would go into the side of a mountain because when the bombs would drop, it wouldn't phase them a bit.
Yeah, because the mountain protected them.
Right. So, but we had to go there because they knew that.
Yeah.
That's good. Have you been back to Vietnam? Do you have any interest in going back to Vietnam?
It's to me, it's like, do you want to go back to your first wife? No, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's a hard pass.
Because my experience as a soldier is quite different now. I can't do what I did then because I was trained to do certain things then. And the thing is, it was a bad dream. When you get home, you want to forget all that. And you didn't because people would badger you for being there.
All right. So post Vietnam, what career path did you take post Vietnam?
I remember I had a few jobs, and I had to think. It was about 6 months. I had to really think. I went away for a while. I came back, and I remember calling my friend, and I said, "Come on over. I got to talk to you." And he drove up, and he got out of the car, and I was pacing up and down the driveway, up and down the driveway, up and down the driveway. And he says, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I says, "Fred, I got it. I could do anything. After what I went through, I can do anything. This is a piece of cake." He says, I say, "I could go any company, get a job sweeping the floor, and I'll run the company."
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh," he looked at me like, "You're crazy, And I say, that thing right there was, I could do it. So I went to the VA at the time, had an employment agency, and they would send you on jobs. And so they said, "There's a job in Nyack as a clerk for $2.50 an hour," right? Take it. It's automotive, Nyack Auto Parts. I'll take it. So I went to Nyack Auto Parts, and I was a clerk, and I did the card system. They didn't have a computer then and all that stuff. And then I finished that, and I put away stock, and then I worked the counter, and I wasn't even a mechanic. I never even changed oil.
Yeah.
I did all the stuff. Fast forward, let's see, 71. In 1978, I was general manager of 7 stores in a warehouse in the automotive field.
Yeah.
Then I went from there, and I got a job at CarQuest.
Okay.
That had 2,800 stores. And I was national media, radio and television media, and head of retail. I was on the retail board. I was on the wholesale board. And I did all this. I was in magazines. I opened up conferences. And all from that, saying I could do anything. So a lot of guys came back, and what am I going to do? A job or whatever?
Beat them, and instead you leaned into it, and that created the mentality of like, screw this, I got this.
So the guys that this is it. I had friends who were in Vietnam, and they still talk about it today like it was yesterday. And I just didn't want to be narrow. I mean, move on. You did it. You're a citizen. You did your job. Move on, right? And so I was very fortunate. I had a different attitude than a lot of guys come in the back. And I said, I can do it, and I did it. And, a lot of people didn't say, "Oh, because you're in Vietnam, you're going to be a screw-up." That was contrary to that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I went back to college. I got my GI Bill, to pay for it. And then my company paid for me going to school.
So,
and then after that, I bought my second house.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where you said there was good that came out of it, too.
Right.
And that's the good part.
So, there is opportunity till today, with being in the service, learning a trade, because everything is, computerized and stuff. And there's different departments and, so there's a lot of opportunity there if you don't go to college. And guess what? It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, Oscar, we're at the end of our show. If Lenny doesn't die, I'm sure he'll say.
I'm trying not to.
He'll say thank you also.
Right.
But I mean, it's great conversation. I truly appreciate you coming in and sharing your stories with us, and appreciate your service and what you did, and wear that that badge proudly. You are a part of the Veterans Court, which at Veterans Village we get a lot of our people from Veterans Court. But No, thank you so much for just being a part of this and sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you for
It's
having me.
Absolutely amazing.
I hope I did honor to those guys that were left behind.
I think you did.
I think you definitely did. So
Thank you.
all right.
Explained a lot about the whole gestalt of it all, coming back, what you had to deal with, what you had to deal with over there, and how it set you up to give you the confidence to say, that ain't nothing. I'm going ahead.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, you can
So-
do anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's the message you left us all with. You can do anything. And I'm out of bourbon. So
Oh, well, then we're off the show.
That means we have to stop the show. I mean, because I'm out of bourbon. But Oscar, I appreciate you guys. And thank you guys.
you.
Support our sponsors. This is Bollocks this evening. We'll see you tomorrow night.